All right, it is 12:02, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to call to order the February 13th, 2025 MARTA work session meeting. We're going to wait a minute to approve our minutes until we have one more member here for quorum, but we're going to move ahead with some other matters, and then we'll come back to that. Before we get to Mr. Greenwood's report, two things I wanted to do. One is welcome our newest member, Dr. Elizabeth Bolton Harris, who will be serving on the MARTA board on behalf of Fulton County and in particular South Fulton County. Dr. Bolton Harris is a former U.S. Navy officer, lieutenant commander, and current director-in-chief APP cardiology at Emory Healthcare. She is a graduate of Howard University, Emory University, and Georgia State University, and we are so glad to have her join us today. So welcome, Dr. Bolton Harris. I also wanted to just take a moment for anybody who wasn't with us 2 weeks ago for the State of MARTA to just say what a fantastic event that was held here on January 30th, hosted by the Council for Quality Growth and MARTA. Kali did an amazing job, so I want to applaud him for a job well done. The responses that I've received from that event have been extremely positive. It hit all the high notes from showcasing the progress MARTA has made on projects. You know, I think a lot of times people wonder, what are we doing? And there's a lot of behind-the-scenes long-term planning that goes into these. And we got to see several of them at the State of MARTA, the unveiling of the new train, which will be the most high-tech train in the United States. It was really phenomenal, lots of room for bikes and wheelchairs. It's open, it's comfortable, it's high-tech. We had one of the new BRT buses here that, again, was just beautiful. And we got an overview of many of the programs across all of the jurisdictions of where there are projects going on. Kali presented a clear vision for the future of MARTA and the future of transit. So if you have not seen it, I invite you to view the program on MARTA's YouTube channel. At the very least, watch the video of the new train because it's really amazing. The MARTA team has put in a ton of work planning this event, and it really showed. The venue was great. The event was sold out with 500 attendees, and the social media and press coverage has been incredible. So people are really, really excited about what MARTA is doing, where it's headed, and that we're doing it on a balanced budget. I'm proud of our consistent AAA bond ratings while we get all of this done, which demonstrates how fiscally sound we are. So again, well done. The future looks bright for MARTA. So I am going to go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Greenwood for the General Manager CEO report. And again, we'll come back to the minutes in a little while.
Thank you, Chair. I want to start off by just recognizing National Transit Equity Day. MARTA supported that on Tuesday, February 4th. Of course, that's honoring the life and legacy of Rosa Parks, celebrating her birthday and the courage, resilience, and lasting impact she had on the civil rights movement. The historic bus was once again on display at West End Station, and we had that out there from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. as part of the event. And this bus, of course, is similar to bus number 2857, the one that Rosa Parks rode when she helped spark the Montgomery bus boycott and galvanize the civil rights movement. The event included a march from the IBEW building to West End Station at 11 a.m., and then there was a speaking program at noon that featured remarks from MARTA board member Rita Scott, elected officials, and community leaders. The event also featured a MARTA table offering information, giveaways, and breeze cards for attendees. So we'll have a deeper dive about the event will be presented at the February 27th External Relations Committee. And of course, that was within the larger context of our next agenda item, which is Black History Month. We're really just, I wanted to ask you to pay attention to the flyer if it's in your packets. And it's our one-page flyer celebrating and promoting Black History Month. It includes our themed flyer with a QR code with links to specific MARTA events throughout February. There's the True Colors Theater performance at Jaja's African Hair Braiding. There's the Atlanta Streetcar Valentine's Day concert. Those are specific MARTA events. And then as other themed events throughout the region at popular venues like Georgia International Convention Center, Fox Theater, Rialto Center for the Arts, Pittsburgh Yards, Georgia World Congress Center, Children's Museum, Spelman College, National Center for Civil and Human Rights, Apex Museum, the King Center, Madam C.J. Walker Museum and Word Studio, and the National Museum of African American History and Culture. All of these with information regarding the nearest MARTA train stations to these venues and events. So the flyer outlines the events, system information, resources, playlists, and prizes to promote celebrations all month long. So please do participate and show your support. Next on the agenda is really a nod to the fact that MARTA has been keeping abreast of federal executive orders and relevant memoranda. MARTA has reviewed approximately 17 communiques received in the latter part of January 2025, including executive orders, presidential memorandums, OMB memorandums, and US DOT orders. Joining us now to walk through the anticipated short-term to long-term effects of these changes is our own Deputy CFO, Mr. Greg Patterson. Greg?
Thank you, Mr. Greenwood. Good afternoon, Chair I, Vice Chair Pond, Mr. Greenwood, and members of the Board of Directors. It's my pleasure to give you an overview of our analysis of federal funding risk to MARTA as a result of the executive orders that we have seen most recently. Next slide, please. So at a summary level, the Office of Management and Budget on January 27, 2025 released Memorandum M2513. And that memorandum instructed a temporary pause on federal grant programs to determine the programs that align with President Trump's priorities and executive orders. Although the memorandum was rescinded on January 28, 2025, we do have some experts that are contending that we have an unaddressed risks that is outlined in Court Order New York et al. Versus Trump. I won't read off the rest of the number, but there's an active case, too, that addresses that concern. So I'll walk us through what we see as potential risks to MARTA. Next slide, please. So we broke this up into kind of an immediate, short, medium, and long-term analysis. The immediate term is that there is no immediate impact. Because M2514 rescinded M2513, it, for all intents and purposes, immediately doesn't have an impact on our ability to transact and move forward. I put a little clip of that right there on the screen, but you can see that immediately, no impact. Next slide, please. Short term, however, we try to portray that in the next 1 to 6 months. The risks that we see here is that we anticipate having delays in obligating already awarded grants, and the total balance that we have right now is around $89 million. There are 11 programs that $89 million breaks across. Just to give you a quick example of a few of those, kind of in order from highest to lowest right off the bat, we have our ARC tip solicitation, FHWA flex funds. That comes out to about $26 million. That's for compressed natural gas bus replacements. Then we also have the South DeKalb Transit Hub, around $25 million. And then moving on down, we have FHWA Flex for additional bus replacements at $12.8 million. Those are just the top 3 in that list as an example. Additionally, we expect that there could be a delay in the award and release of new competitive grant opportunities. Typically, they come out at somewhat of a predictable schedule, but while the administration is deciding how they want to change the approach on those or remanufacture them, we expect there to be a delay there. What should MARTA's response be to that? Well, first and foremost, we're doing everything we can to expedite any of the grant obligation submittals. That said, speeding up the submittals doesn't necessarily mean the process is going to go faster. When we submit an obligation request, it's typically a back and forth activity of us answering additional questions of the FTA, them asking additional questions, and working out some details. Usually takes about 6 months time from start to finish on average, which is why the time frame we put here is that 1 to 6 months impact range. Additionally, one of the things we do on a regular at MARTA is we maintain a grant pursuit list. So we look at our capital project list, we look at our preventive maintenance needs, and we determine what of these lists should we be pursuing for additional grants, and how competitive are these projects at pursuing the grant revenue for these particular programs. So what we are doing is we're going to be taking a look at the competitive criteria that the administration has already provided, and re-examining our list of pursuit projects and seeing which ones best align with that, and we probably will be resequencing it from a recommendation standpoint going forward. Next slide, please. Moving on into the medium-term potential impact, and this is our estimate is the next 6 to 12 months. We expect that we will likely receive some new grant eligibility requirements and competitiveness criteria. The eligibility requirements are sort of like the pass-fail. If it doesn't meet the eligibility requirements, don't even bother submitting a grant request. And then competitiveness criteria determines how well you score against other projects that cross that initial threshold. And so we anticipate that's going to change. The executive order had the language in it that helps us kind of have that guidepost. So some of the priority changes are that we should be removing our focus on racial equity, climate change, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and including more focus on economic development, family and community benefits, and cost-benefit analysis. So we expect that's likely what's going to happen. Another possibility that we are considering is that there could be a rescission of grant agreements that are already in place that don't align with the administration priorities. So our current unliquidated balance is $279.9 million. That could potentially be at risk, but having no additional information or criteria, it's difficult for us to say anything more other than that's a possibility. So what we think, at least in the immediate response from MARTA, is that we should be adjusting our external communications consultant support to make sure that we have the right support to help us organize and evaluate the competitiveness of MARTA's projects to fit within the areas of focus the incoming administration is looking for, and that we should also be training our internal staff on any new requirements and priorities that do come out in future communications so we're ready to pursue grant opportunities. Next slide, please. And then our long-term risk assessment, and this is beyond 12 months. We are expecting, based on things we've heard, that we would expect updated CIG program requirements that could affect MARTA's competitiveness on CIG applications. Those are our big projects, the new starts, small starts, and that there's also likely to be a new federal transportation authorization bill. The current one right now should expire in September 30th of 2026. So that's the bipartisan infrastructure law. Anything that replaces it has the ability to change a lot of functions. It could change our formula allocations. It can change what sort of discretionary programs are available. It'll change likely the criteria and the eligibility as well as how you score well against that criteria. So there's a possibility that you'd see less of that formula funding going to urban areas and more to rural areas. We believe that to be a risk here. So our general recommended response on this is that we make sure we confirm our prioritization of our capital projects. A lot of our top capital projects are leveraged with federal grant funding. If for some reason they would not compete, it doesn't necessarily mean we would stop pursuing those projects. It means we would probably divert more of MARTA's local funding to support those projects, and that other projects lower on the priority list would have to be deferred to accommodate the difference. And so that's why having our confirmation there is very good. Additionally, having our contingency plan in place that says if for some reason eligibility criteria changes on our preventive maintenance, which supports our operating functions, we would have a backup plan on how we continue to maintain our assets and our fleet, and if there were any other activities, we would defer or delay at MARTA to account for it. And then probably most importantly is aggressively pursue any non-federal grant sources that can augment our revenues so we can continue to operate like normal to the extent that we can. I do want to emphasize on all of these are all simply potential risks. We don't have enough empirical criteria to go by to say this is a definite thing we have to respond to. So we're doing our best to analyze based on the wording that's come out on our executive order so far and assess what do we realistically see as a possibility to MARTA and what would we do to respond. These are sort of our initial cut of that. Next slide, please. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Any questions from the board?
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Next up, Chair Ide, it has been a busy week for our CFO, Kevin Hurley. He's been in New York City. I think he returned last night, where he was assessing bond transactions on our behalf. So here to summarize the issuance, sale, and execution of those bonds and to seek your support eventually is Kevin Hurley.
Thank you, Collie, and good afternoon, Chair Ide, members of the MARTA Board of Directors, Mr. Greenwood. I'm Kevin Hurley, and I'm here to brief you on the pricing and savings results for the Series 2025A and Series 2025B bond transactions. Next slide, please. As presented at the January board work session, MARTA is executing its first new money bond transaction in 3 years and also trying to take advantage of a bond refunding opportunity as well. The new money issuance will replenish working capital and reserves used for State of Good Repair program capital expenditures, and the refunding transaction partially refinances MARTA's taxable Series 2020B and 2021D bonds. The new money series will be Series 2025A, and the refunding series is designated 2025B. Next slide. The new money issuance replenishes working capital and reserves previously utilized on State of Good Repair capital projects. The Series 2025A bonds were rated green bonds by a second-party verifier. The preliminary official statement, which is the marketing document that's sent to the bond market, was posted on January 31st, and the bonds priced yesterday, February 12th, and the closing is scheduled for February 25th if it is approved by the board at the board meeting. Next slide. The pricing results for the new money transaction are as follows. The par value of the bonds is $327.8 million. They're rated AAA by S&P and Kroll rating agencies. The average life of the bonds is 24.3 years, and the total all-in cost rate, which is the rate that MARTA pays on the bonds, is 4.6%. I wanted to point out this rate is slightly higher than what we anticipated. CPI came out yesterday morning at 8:30, just prior to us going into the market, and CPI was considerably higher than what was anticipated by the market. So that it was a little haywire in the morning yesterday. So we actually had to delay putting our pricing on the street. We typically do it around 9:30 in the morning. We wound up getting it out with some adjustments around 11:30. And we'll go to the next slide and we'll see the results of this. The 4.6% we felt was pretty close. We thought it was going to be 4.25% to 4.5%. There were transactions from other vendors and other organizations that had to downsize their bond sales just because they could not get them done. We were oversubscribed in several maturity years, which allowed us to really tighten up and get close to where we thought we would be. Okay, the second transaction, this is the tax-exempt advanced refunding. In this transaction, likewise, the preliminary official statement was posted on January 31st. These bonds were also rated green bonds. They priced yesterday, and the scheduled closing is the same, February 25th. Next slide. The pricing and savings results for the refunding transaction. The par value is $149.8 million. This is also slightly higher, but for a good reason. About 2 weeks ago, after the board was briefed on this transaction in January, MARTA was approached by a bondholder that wanted to sell us maturity in 2040 for about $10 million at a discount. So we rolled that $10 million request into the refinancing transaction. It generated about 9% additional savings on that particular maturity, which equated to about $900,000. So we felt like we needed to roll that in because it would be imprudent of us not to include such a savings. The bonds were rated AAA by both S&P and Kroll. The average life of the bonds is about 8.8 years, and the interest rate on these bonds is 3.31%. The net present value savings is 8.2 million. We initially thought it would be in the 5 to 7 million range, so this is a little bit better story. The CPI increase on this transaction actually helped generate a little bit higher return. It hurt us on the new money, but helped us on this one. So the overall savings is about 4.3%. Next slide. Okay, the next steps would be at the board meeting following this work session. There's an agenda item that requests the MARTA Board of Directors approval of the resolution for the issuance, sale, execution, and delivery of the 2025A and 2025B bonds. And then staff will execute the closing on February 25th, 2025, and that's the day that funds will flow. And I return the floor to you, Mr. Greenwood.
Any questions? Mr. Pond?
Great job, Kevin.
Yes, sir.
Refresh my memory. Who do we use to help us with bond pricing and also the bond cancel?
I couldn't quite hear you,
With
sir.
pricing, consultants we use the pricing and also current bond cancel.
Yes, we have a bond counsel, and we have a financial advisor that is at the table with us when we're negotiating the pricing and paring it down. It was quite an exercise yesterday, but we got to squeeze in a lot of different maturities to get the pricing better.
No, the question was the names. Who are the firms?
Oh, the
Yes.
firm's Public Financial Management is the financial advisor, and bond counsel is Holland and Knight.
All right. Thank you, Kevin.
Yes, sir.
Chair, just to bring everyone's attention to a couple of dates. The committee and board meetings are as stated in your info packets, but in addition to that, we have the Riders Advisory Council that'll happen in person and or virtually. So that'll be Wednesday, March 5th in the atrium. We have the MAC committee meeting, which is Tuesday, March 11th, and that is virtual. We also have some APTA engagements, including the Legislative Conference in DC on May 18th, and the Transit Board Members Seminar in Kansas City on July 19th. And finally, we have the APTA Transform Conference in September in Boston, and that will conclude the dates and the issues in my agenda. From there, it's executive session.
Yes, Mr. Hunt, do we have anything for executive session?
We do have one personnel presentation for executive session.
Okay, may I have a motion to go into executive session? All right, Ms. Hardage made a motion, a second from Ms. Jones. Everybody vote with a show of hands. All right, we are now going into executive session. All right, good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to call to order the February 13th, 2025 Board of Director meeting for MARTA. It is now few minutes after 1:30. Mr. Hunt, do we have any public comments to report that came in via email or voicemail?
We have no public comments that came in electronically, Chair.
All right. We are going to move into our in-person public comments. The public will not be allowed to yield or donate time to other speakers. The public comment portion of the meeting will not exceed 45 minutes. If the 45-minute time limit is reached before public comments are completed, public comments will be suspended and the board meeting will commence. Public comments will resume at the end of the board meeting. I have the green public comment sheets for those who've requested to speak, and I'll call you up in order.
Chair,
Yes?
while I was speaking, we got one email.
Okay.
Public comment, which will be sent to all the board members in the normal course.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. I believe it's Jacqueline Ward.
Yes, I am, want to speak by 1 second. I went to the restroom was trying to use the restroom November 18, 2024. And when I got there, a police officer was getting ready to let me use the latest restroom. Employee, she didn't have ID on, but I looked, she informed me that I would not be allowed to use the women's bathroom, that I would have to use the men's bathroom. And then I said, well, the sign says women above, and the other one says men's. So she said, well, no. And then I asked her again. She said, my supervisor let me do this, informed me that I was given permission for the public to have to use the men, and the MARTA employees would have to use the women's bathroom. And so I was in a tight. And when I went in the restroom, the toilet was very nasty. The thing for what the men have to use, the urine, I think they call it, it was very nasty. I was very upset, but I don't clown, do nothing crazy. I took pictures of both of them. I submitted it the next day, November the 19th. I waited till December to see that they give me an update of what. I know they weren't gonna give me no personal employee because that's violation of privacy. So they kept saying that it was open. So I called back January. January came, they said it was still open. I called back January 16th, and they said I'm gonna resubmit it to the person. I said, well, who's that person? The person that's over at the art center area. So on yesterday, I called again. The lady said, Miss Latoya, that original got my email on November 19th that on November the 19th, she informed me that they'll let you know about the buses and the trains, but they won't let them know about the aftermath of my complaint. And I thought between November the 19th and yesterday, somebody could at least call me and say, well, we're sorry, or whatever they want to say. But nobody even reached out to me about this situation. I did give the lady downstairs a copy of the pictures of what I had to see in that restroom. Thank you.
Thank you, and we have your information, and we'll look into it. Thank you. Next, Joy McKenzie.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joy McKenzie, and I am here today to speak on MARTA mobility. I've been riding it for a couple of years, and it's been one nonsense to the next with MARTA Mobility. But recently, I want to speak on this one here. What happened last Thursday on the 6th? I booked a reservation on the 5th to go to the Perimeter Mall for the 400 Ashford Dudley. When I called to book the reservation, I told them that I want a 9 o'clock pickup. The young lady that took the reservation asked me what time I want to be pick up back from the mall. I said 12:30. I asked her, so what time I'm going to meet there when you pick me up at 9? She said about 11:30. I said, that's fine. They came on time to get me. I meet there way before 10 o'clock, but that was fine. 12:30, I was outside since 12 o'clock. At 12:15, the little automatic machine called and said that the bus is going to be there at 12:58. Okay, because we have to give them 30 minutes grace period, which I have no problem with that. At 1 o'clock, I call. I said, hi, where's the bus? They said the bus is going to be there at 1:06. Okay. I called back again, no bus. They said the bus is out to Macy's at Nostrand. So I said, well, I'm out here where they dropped me off this morning. I say, and this is where they're supposed to pick me up back. And we there back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. At 2 o'clock, I call, nothing. They give me a bus number. They say the bus number gonna be 4813. And the reason why I remember the bus number, the van number, because I had a styrofoam cup in my hand where I drank some water from a restaurant. And I wrote the bus number down on it. 2:30 come, I keep calling. It's just a lot of who shot Johnny. They said the bus is in front, at the back, and I'm from the front to the back to the front. There is no bus. Where is the bus? At that time, I asked to speak to somebody with authority. And a fellow came on the phone, and this is how he answered the phone. He said, what is it? What can I help you with? I was like, oh boy. Oh boy. I said, that is the way you answer a phone, a work phone? I said, you have no manners, no respect. I said, I'm calling about the bus. I said, what is going on? Well, the bus is on the highway. I said, well, y'all say earlier that the bus is going to be here at 1:06. I said, no, it touching 2 o'clock. There is no bus. They asked me where I'm standing, and I say I'm outside right where they dropped me off this morning. I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this restaurant name, Madriana. Yes. I said, right there, I'm standing. I said, sir, I have not took my insulin. I have not took my medication. I have not eaten. I said, I had to ask for a cup of water at a restaurant, and they give it to me. And so I write the bus number down because I had the styrofoam cup in my hands. You know, it's a problem. So I turned to him. I said, y'all are so unprofessional and dysfunction. This is what he said. He called himself a supervisor. Well, if you're going to insult us, I'm going to disconnect this call. I'm going to hang up the phone on you. I said, excuse me? I said, let me tell you something. At the time I get mad when he tell me he can hang up the phone on me. When I stand up there for all of that time, I said, let me tell you something. I said, if you think that you're so big and bad and powerful, and you think that you're a big man, I said, you hang up the phone on me. I said, hang it up. And then you're going to see if you're going to get a job when I get through with you. They're arguing with me back and forth. Then when I look across to the street, I saw one of the MARTA vans, not the regular MARTA mobility bus, a van where, you know, people rent and drive or whatever with the logo. So I turned to them and said, I see a van is coming in. But the van turned the opposite way to the restaurant, and then they drove out back. So after I told them, about the van, a couple seconds after, I saw the van turn back and stop in front of Macy's. So I walk up and I told the lady, I said, good afternoon. I said, who are you picking up? Miss Mackenzie. I said, here we go again. I said, okay, so well, I'm Joy Mackenzie. And before I go in the van, I gave her my $4. I said, could you check to make sure it's the correct money? She checked, she said, yes, it's $4. She put it in a white envelope, and I went into the seat. I was mad. I continued to talk. And she didn't want to hear nothing that I was saying, nothing. We going down the interstate. She started driving in and out of traffic. It says 65. She were doing 80. And I'm watching at her, and I'm watching that little speed thing in the car with the needle moving. And I was like to myself, oh, Lord, take me home safe. I got children, grandchildren, and great-grands who depending on me. So I started to talk and complain that MARTA needs to do something with these reckless and disrespectful drivers and the managers and the supervisor. I continued to talk, and she got more mad. We get to 55. The speed zone's at 55. She touching 100. Bop! She nearly run into a van. At that time, I said, ma'am, I said, you are driving really reckless. I said, you need to stop. You need to slow down. I said, if you want to kill yourself, I said, you do it all by yourself. Not with me.
Miss Mackenzie, I am so sorry that this happened to you, and I really apologize on behalf of MARTA, and I'm going to ask Miss Allen if you can find somebody to follow up with Miss Mackenzie and or George. Yeah.
It needs to stop.
Okay.
It needs to stop.
Yep.
It needs to stop. We seniors going through a lot with
Yes.
our health.
Yep.
And then when we book MARTA, we are being abused by them.
Yep.
Come on now. No. All of y'all sit down here. Y'all have the power and authority to do something. That's why I am here. I call customer service, and it's so I'm here. So I know about this meeting here, this gathering here. That's why I'm here, to let y'all know what we are encountering with MARTA Mobility. It needs to stop, and I'm pleading with y'all. I am begging y'all. I am begging y'all. Please fix it with MARTA Mobility. Please, please, please.
Again, I deeply apologize that was your experience, and Miss Allen will, is available to talk now and hear the rest of your concerns. But we on behalf of the board, we apologize. That was your experience with MARTA. That's not the service that you deserved. And then our last public speaker is Mr. Coulter.
Hey, how you doing? I had a few things written down on the comment sheet, but the main thing I wanted to talk about was the cleanliness of the buses and the breeze, fare boxes, so, I was just talking with, Mr. Yeah. And so, a lot of times with these fare boxes, I think they just need to be taken out of the buses because the drivers, they think that we're trying to jump the fare and stuff like that. And that's not the case because I use MARTA quite frequently. I go all over the place with it. And if you're paying on the bus, if you're paying at the train station, that transfer should go with you until you reach your destination, no matter where it is. Sometimes I go from Decatur to Atlanta, all over the place. And it seems like the drivers think that, oh, you know, you have to pay again. No, I've already paid at the fare or at the bus or the train. I don't need to pay again when I've already paid. So it's insulting that they ask you to pay again when you've already paid. But I think a lot of times it's the fare boxes when you tap, you pay and you tap, it's not registering the transfer, or it's not registering. A lot of times the driver just say, they just tell you to get on because they know that the fare boxes are not working. So it's a problem, you know. Sometimes it's like, okay, so I'm just getting on without tapping because the fare box is not working. And I think it's a lot too much responsibility on the drivers to have to worry about who's paying, who's not paying, if the fare box is working, if it's not working, how much you have to pay. They don't even realize the difference between reduced fare. I'm reduced fare. They don't understand the difference between reduced fare and regular fare, and it just becomes a big problem. And then moving on to the cleanliness of the buses and the trains. I have pictures here. Matter of fact, I was on the 110 on Peachtree just the other day, and it seems like, you know, whether or not, I don't know whose responsibility is it, but I told the drivers, hey, you know, somebody brought, you know, they were eating or they dropped something there, and even at that particular time, there was somebody that dropped some sauce or some ranch sauce or whatever. They tried to pick it up, and I'm like, hey, you know, you need to clean the bus because you've got a mess here on the seat. Somebody dropped something, it needs to be cleaned up. She turned around, she just looked at me, and then looked back, and she didn't acknowledge what I was saying. She just looked at me, and I said, ma'am, you need to, you know, whoever needs to clean the buses, you have a mess here on the bus, please clean it up. She just looked at me, and then she had the audacity to stop the bus at an unauthorized stop at the Pizza Hut, okay, to talk to the Pizza Hut workers. They came out of the restaurant, and they were like, yeah, I'm coming by back at, I'll be back up here at 11:30 or whatever the time was. Yeah, do you want anything from Pizza Hut? And they, you know, this carrying on this conversation, and I'm like, so you have time you can acknowledge and talk to the Pizza Hut employees, stop and talk to Pizza Hut employees, but you can't acknowledge and talk to me about cleaning the bus. Now, I have a question. Who is supposed to clean the buses? Who is supposed to be cleaning the seats? Because a lot of times the seats, if there's trash left on the seats, there's trash left on the train seats. It's dirty. It's filthy. You don't even want to, it's so nasty, you don't even want to sit down. And they need to get a hold of cleaning the buses. Every time it goes to the train station, there should be someone at the train station to come onto the bus, use bleach, mop, clean all the seats, and use some elbow. You know, if you need to scrub the seats down, make sure they're spotless. Don't just leave, you know, stains, literal stains on the bus seats, because sometimes, you know, people are sitting down and, you know, whatever, but it's just nasty.
Yeah.
And then I also wanted to mention about the reduced fare. So people on fixed income, we need a monthly reduced fare card or whatever, so that when we get our check, we can set aside a certain amount for, you know, out of the month for a fare, so we don't have to worry about reloading the card, reloading the bus, you know, the Breeze card constantly over and over again. That's a certain amount a month we can set aside and budget and say, okay, this is going to be for you know, for MARTA. It makes it so much easier and so much simpler, instead of having to constantly, I've got to keep reloading at the fare box, keep reloading at the train station, and then a lot of times those fare boxes don't even work.
Mr. Coulter, I'm sorry to stop you. We do have a time limit. I want you to see, if you turn that way, Mr. Wright is our Chief Operating Officer, and he is happy to continue the conversation with you and hear all this, but thank you for coming and sharing this with us today. Yes, Mr. Wright, can you, if you would like to, somebody's coming up behind you right now to help you with your complaint. Thank you. All right, thank you everybody for coming to share your experiences today. even when they are not the service that we wish to be providing. It's important that we hear from the public of what their experience is riding on our system. Moving forward with our meeting, we do need to approve our minutes from our January 9th board meeting. May I have a motion? Okay, we had a motion by Ms. Williamson, a second by Ms. Hardage. Everybody vote. Motion passed. All right, 1 second, our resolution. Okay. All right, we have a resolution authorizing the issuance, sale, execution, and delivery of the Metropolitan Atlanta Rapid Transit Authority Sales Tax Revenue Bonds, Series 2025A Green Bonds, and the Refunding Series 2025B Green Bonds. May I have a motion to approve? And a second. All right, do we have any discussion, any questions? All right, everybody vote. All right, the resolution has been approved. And we are going to move next to our business management report by Mr. Pond.
Madam Chair, the Business Management Committee met on Thursday, January 23rd, and approved the following resolutions. A, resolution authorizing the approval of the MARTA 2025-28 Title VI program. B, resolution authorizing the award of a contract for armed security guard coverage for revenue operations, IFB B50381-A. I request approval of these resolutions.
All right, may I have a motion approving these resolutions? It's there. All right, everybody vote. And do we, I'm sorry. No, it's no discussion. Okay. All right. The resolutions have been approved.
The committee also received the following briefing: the fiscal year 2025 second quarter financial highlights and performance indicators. Madam Chair, this concludes my report.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pond. Next, we will hear from Mr. Worthy for the Planning and Capital Programs.
This is a long report because we didn't meet in December. Madam Chair, the Planning and Capital Programs Committee met on Thursday, January 23rd, 2025, and approved the following resolutions. A, resolution authorizing award of a contract for the procurement of disposal of land parcel D4138, surface area IFB B50513. B, resolution authorizing a non-exclusive revocable license agreement with NCWPCS MPL 27-year Sites Tower Holdings LLC in the amount of $699,574.01 for continued operation of the AT&T Statewood Cell Tower, MARTA Parcel D7012Y, Fulton County, Atlanta, Georgia. C, resolution authorizing a non-exclusive revocable license agreement with Crown Castle South LLC in the amount of $404,190.41 for continued operation of the Arts Center Cell Tower, MARTA Parcel D3079Y, Fulton County, Atlanta, Georgia. D, resolution authorizing the award of a contract for professional consultant services for Clayton County South Lake BRT Transit-Oriented Development Planning Study, RFP P50484. E, resolution authorizing the solicitation of proposals for the procurement of design build services for next-gen bus network redesign infrastructure, RFP P50669. F, resolution authorizing the solicitation of proposals for the procurement of program management consultants services for the Georgia 400 BRT, RFP P50661. And G, resolution authorizing the solicitation of proposals for the procurement of communications-based train control project management consultant support services, RFP P50662. I respectfully request approval of these resolutions.
All right, may we have a motion and a second? The resolutions have been approved.
The committee also received the following briefings: DeKalb ART to BRT feasibility study results and Streetcar East preliminary study updates. Madam Chair, this concludes my report.
Thank you so much, Mr. Worthy, and I think you're up again with Operations and Safety.
Madam Chair, the Operations and Safety Committee met on Thursday, January 23rd, 2025, and approved the following resolutions. A, resolution authorizing the award of a contract for high rail trucks, IFB B50283. B, resolution authorizing a modification in the contractual authorization for on-call snow debris removal services, IFB B47306. C, resolution authorizing the modification in contractual authorization for refuse removal services, IFB B38146. And D, resolution authorizing a modification in contractual authorization for supplemental shuttle bus services, RFQ Q50465. I respectfully request approval of these resolutions.
All right, do we have a motion and a second? All
Madam
right.
Chair, this concludes my report.
Thank you so much, and those resolutions have been approved. And External Relations, Ms. Jones.
Madam Chair, the External Relations Committee met on Thursday, January 23rd, 2025, and received the following briefings: Government Affairs Update and a Marketing and Communications Update. Madam Chair, this concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Are there any other matters to come before the board, Mr. Hunt?
We have no other matters.
All right. Are there any other comments from the board? I will say at our work session for the public, we did welcome our newest member of the MARTA board, Dr. Elizabeth Bolton Harris, who will be representing Fulton County on the board. So she is our newest colleague, and we're delighted to have her here with us today. If there's nothing else, then our board of directors meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.